Well. The Russians are moving ahead with their referendums in the Donbass, and the U.S. Empire has already deemed those elections a complete and total sham. Let's talk. Hello, Garland here, and hopefully I'm not going to be too long tonight. It's Sunday night, and I wanted to chat. I know people are watching football and various things here in the States, but just a little talk, something I was thinking about regarding the referendums. Of course, the U.S. has already deemed these things completely fakes, frauds, and shams, and of course, a violation of the rules-based international order. My first thought is this: a few years ago, Venezuela, the U.S. routinely says Venezuela's elections are a sham. Now, what's interesting is a few years ago, Venezuela, whenever they have their elections, they bring election observers from all over the world. They take them all to every part of every detail of how the election is held, and at the end, they can write reports, international reports, when they go back and put anything they want in. Jimmy Carter came back from the elections in Venezuela and said it's the cleanest election in the world. Now, why would I agree with that? Because I did the same. I went to Venezuela. One of the invitees, I was invited by the Venezuelan government. I went with a delegation from the U.S. And we went through everything. We went to the factories where the places that use machines. We went to the factories where they make them and found out about them and why they're we saw them. Got to ask questions about the operating systems. I mean, every detail, how everything went down on the days of the elections. The day before the elections, we went around to election sites. We were trained in how their election system works. I mean, on to every last detail. Then we were able to go to site to site to site, talk to the people, ask questions at the people working at the sites. We had guides. We were able to talk to anybody we wanted in the streets, right? So the bottom line is, you really got a feeling that it was transparent. And when you left, you could make a determination. I left, I made a determination. Their election was good. It was good. And then when you go out and you're talking to the people and they're shaking their fists saying, go back and tell the Americans we will fight for our democracy, blah, blah, blah. Their election was clean. Venezuela's election was clean. I got home, but the US say it's a scam, sham, it's a lie, all lies. It was stolen by Maduro, blah, 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 which was the opposite of the truth. And I learned something that I already knew. These people are apathetic about the truth. That's the way I like to put it. The neocons that run the US empire are apathetic. They say what they need to say for effect. If it happens to be true, that's fine. If it doesn't happen to be true, that's fine. They don't lie just for the fact of the case of lying. They don't tell the truth just because they feel good about telling the truth. They're always a means to an end. And if the truth helps them to the end, they'll tell the truth. If a lie helps them to get to reach their desired end, then they'll tell a lie. They don't really care what they're about how it works out. So we also remember this. This was on tape. You can find it many, many places. There's a recording where Hillary Clinton is talking about the Palestinians. And of course they were allowed to vote, and they voted in Hamas. And she said, we shouldn't have had a vote unless we could have assured how it was going to turn out. That tells you the mentality of, like me, I could never say that about any vote, because I believe in the integrity of a vote, whatever vote it is. If it's a community association voting to see whether or not they'll allow people to have bigger bushes in their yards, I don't know, whatever the hell, right? I believe in the integrity of the process. These people believe that they have a right to do anything they want to determine their desired outcome. So the way Hillary Clinton feels, this is the way they feel. Now, think about this. Let's put two and two together. Some people say they're hypocritical and they're inconsistent. Well, you're half right. The neocons, and I'm all getting together. This is all going to make sense. They're hypocrite. The neocons are hypocritical in that they'll say whatever they need to. If they'll say no one should ever eat cake because it benefits them, and the next day they'll have a mouthful of cake, and you'll say, I thought you said and nobody should ever eat cake. They'll say, that's a lie. I never said that. Cake is the best thing. Everybody should eat cake. They don't care. say what they got to say at the time to get the desired results. Now, why do I go through all that? In the same way that they said, look, the outcome of this election is great. Now they will overthrow a government and install Jovenel Moise in Haiti. And then when he serves his time and he's now a problem, he gets executed. Now they got a guy, Ariel Henry. I hear that things may be looking kind of bleak for old Ariel Henry, the prime minister of Haiti. So their thing is this: we do whatever we need. We put whoever we need in power as long as it serves us. If that person doesn't serve us, then we'll change however we need to change. It is the rules-based international order. It is the ultimate in narcissism. Tony Blinken always talks about the rules-based international order. That is neocon talk to the max. Why? Because they don't care what they say. It's the opposite of reality. First of all, they're saying whatever they're talking about, this international order for starters, is rules based, right? Now, if something is rules based, now I'm using logic. Of course, you're wasting your time trying to use logic with the neocons, but I'm going to use logic. If something's rules based, there has to be somewhere where you can see the rules. There has to be somewhere where you can say, okay, that's a rules-based order. Yeah, can I see the rules? What about Tony Blinken? Ask him for a copy of the rules. Rules-based is simply something that's it's a public relations phrase, right? Like now you can have Michelob or New Green Ultra. Yes, Michelob Green Ultra. It's dolphin free and it is sustainable. And just put some other words. It's the same beer. You just put it in a different can or a jar, and you wrote Green Ultra on the side, and you put like a leaf and things like that. Put words like sustainable and dolphin free, and there you go. You can have regular Michelob. Oh, or New Green Michelob, sustainable and dolphin free. Hey, sustainable and dolphin free. I'm looking out for the environment. You're an idiot. You just there's some words, and so you're like, okay, that's all we're talking about. Rules based is sustainable and dolphin free. It has no actual meaning. It is meant to imply something. When you buy something and there's a green stinking leaf on it, that green leaf is meant to imply that somehow this makes the world a better place, a cleaner place or something. I don't care what it is. Let's face it. Let's be honest. You go literally to a gas pump. You're pumping petroleum into your car, and it has a green leaf on it. And you're like, hey, boy, I better pump more of this gas. Got to save the environment. Glub, 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 right? So that's all rules-based. In the term rules-based international order, it is effectively a green leaf on a gas pump. It is, and might I add, and not only is it a green leaf on a gas pump, the guy who's pumping the gas has a lit cigarette in his mouth. How about we go with that far with that metaphor? That's what it is. It is to imply that this is rules-based. And let me go one deeper. Why? Why do they want to imply that it's rules-based? Because they want to also imply that they are somehow morally superior to people outside of this system. You see, if you've got a system that's not based on rules, that's based on privilege, such as privilege of the American empire, well, that would be obviously immoral, wouldn't it? That would be obviously unethical. That would be obviously and clearly unjust. To say, I've got a system, and tell me about the system. I can do any damn thing I want, and nobody else can do what I can do. Anything I want, doesn't matter what I do, I can do it. Nobody else, and everybody has to serve me, give me everything I want, tell me what I tell, then do what I tell them to do. Well, that don't go over real big, does it? So instead, you effectively have that exact system, but you call it rules-based. And when anybody asks for the rules, you just say, next question, because you're never going to answer it, because rules-based is effectively a green leaf on a gas pump. That's all it is. It's there for idiots to look at it and say, hey, that's going to make things better. Rules-based. Yes. Why? They've got an international order. What's it based on? Rules. So they must be just ethical people, because how do you know that it's rules-based? Because they told me. Have you ever seen the rules? I'm sure they're somewhere. Yeah, they're somewhere, all right. And let me tell you the rules of the rules-based international order. Quite simple. It is the rules of a narcissist. It is the rules of a sociopath. Everyone in this world is here to feed my narcissistic sociopathic appetite. That is the neocon project. Everyone in the world is there to serve them. That has been kind of the U.S. empire. We need bananas, we need cacao, we need uranium, whatever it is. We need to get it from your little poor little country, and you don't need to get a fair price from it. And for it, and if you try, we'll overthrow your government and put in some backstab and traitor that'll allow us to do it anyway. That's the rules-based international order, and it works like this. And if we decide we want to overthrow a country, we can do it. Anything we want, we can do. We can go and we can bomb in Eastern Europe, and we can say, what do you know? We've had a referendum and there's a new country and we're calling it Kosovo. There you go. And it's going to live off European funds. And Kosovo is there. Voila. Magic. Abracadabra, alakazam. Kosovo's existing. And then Russia says, hey, we're going to have a referendum in Crimea. Oh my God, no, not a referendum in Crimea. You guys can't do that. Why? Because the rules-based international order says we can do anything we want at a whim and nobody else can. And the rule, well, what, and so you see, when the Russians say, what about Kosovo? When the Russians say, how are you going to tell us you overthrew this country and that country? Why, wait a minute, you're telling us about the territorial integrity of a country and you're still occupying a third of Syria? Get out of here with that. Again, they've again violated the rules-based international order. Why? Because they have implied that they have a right to ask the U.S. empire. They have implied that they have a right to call the U.S. empire on the carpet and say, look, you guys are doing something, and that the U.S. empire has to answer to them. According to the rules-based international order, the U.S. empire answers to nobody. And to no rules, to no structure, to nothing. And if the UN, if there's an international organization such as the UN, then it must be compromised until it does what the U.S. Wants. So now, one of the discussion, and the Russians understand this, as to why the Ukraine war is a challenge, the challenge to the rules-based international order. Because anybody else that tries something like that, the U.S. simply says, we're going to sanction you or physically attack you, kinetically attack you, and get what we want anyway. But they can't do it with the Russians. They tried to sanction them. It ain't working. It's backfiring in Europe. Which I might add, from the perspective of the U.S. empire, as they say about software, is a feature, not a bug. Okay, that is a feature of their sanctions, not a problem with their sanctions, at any rate. But so what we're looking at is the Russians. Number one, the Russians are saying you set the precedent. You did that with Kosovo. Now you did it with Kosovo. Now we can do it too. Again, a violation of the rules-based order, because what you're implying is you have a right to ask the U.S. empire for consistency. You have a right to say to the U.S. empire, if you do something, we can do it now too. You set the precedent, which then means that the U.S. empire is not above the rules. Is not the person who says the rules. I make up a bunch of rules and they apply to you guys. And anytime I want, I can change the rules. I can punish you and I can make up new rules and just say you did. And even better, this is what I love. I can just make up something and accuse you of it. Hey, you got to stop turning into werewolves and attacking people. There's no such thing as werewolves. Hey, we got to get everybody together and go to the UN. We got to sanction these werewolves, and we've got to cut their grain off and their oil, everything for werewolves. It doesn't matter that there's no such thing as werewolves. The U.S. empire simply can accuse you of weapons of mass destruction, Xinjiang, whatever it is. They can accuse you. And I don't care how much evidence comes out. The rules-based order says this ain't about evidence in the first place. It's about power. When the U.S. accuses a country of doing something, it's not that they have evidence to do it. It's that the U.S. has the power to claim they did it and to make them suffer as though they did it. So it has nothing to do with what they're accusing the given country of. Again, Russia's saying that dog don't hunt no more. The Russians saying we have a right to security on our border. Well, first, that's where it started. The U.S. military and NATO was moving up closer and closer to their border, closer and closer, moving, building, putting in missiles, putting in this, putting in that. And the Russian says, time out. You're going too far. And the U.S. military's position is, you have no right to tell us anything. Yes, of course we went too far. How else are we going to surround your country? How else are we going to surround your country, strangle you out, and then take everything you got and rob you and break your country to pieces? How else are we going to do that if we don't continue building infrastructure, military infrastructure on your border? Of course, we're trying to do exactly what we're accused of doing. However, you do not have the standing. You do not have the standing under the rules-based international order to gripe, because we're the United States and we own everything. And Russia's saying, well, we're not just in that case, go to hell. We're not going to adhere to your rules-based international order, which is nothing but narcissism on steroids. You can do whatever you want and we can't, and you have to get everything of ours at our price. Not happening. So that's where we are. So now again, this is going to be another the Russians are going to say there's a referendum and this is the outcome. And of course, the US and the EU is going to say we don't recognize it. Russia's going to say that ain't our problem. You ain't got to recognize it. But if anybody fires any missiles or anything inside of it, they're gonna find out, right? They're like, you don't have to recognize it. That ain't our problem. But if you, as far as we're concerned, we don't care how it is that you're concerned. As far as we're concerned, that's our territory starting day X. And anybody that attacks our territory, they're going to have to understand they're going to get a very significant response. And that's where we are now. The question is going to be what that significant response is going to be. I think it's going to be pretty powerful. I think it's going to be statement. It's going to be a statement. I really do. But right now, that is the latest iteration of the Russian war on the rules-based order. Let's call it that. It's a Russian war on the rules-based order. It's Russia saying the rules-based order doesn't work for us. It's one-sided, and it means you run the world and you can do anything you want, anytime you want, and unfair sanctions against whoever you want. That ain't happening. So now what is Russia doing? They're like, Russia is using energy as a weapon. Russia is doing the same thing that NATO is doing. NATO is the U.S. empire, and that is they're using anything at their disposal. Watch a Jackie Chan movie. You ever watch a Jackie Chan movie? Look, there's books behind him. He's going to grab the books and throw you. There's at you. There's a pool balls. He's going to throw every colored ball at you one at a time. He's going to throw everything at you. He's going to hit you over the head with a pool stick. Then he's going to turn a table over on you. Bottom line is he's going to exhaust every tool he has, every weapon, everything in that room that he's hitting. He's throwing hot water off the stove. Anything he can, he's using as a weapon, right? That's the Jackie Chan movie. You've seen it. And that's the way it works. And the rules-based international order is the same way. Anything available will be used as a weapon. That's what NATO's doing. They're using economics as a weapon. They're using, you name it, right? So now they're saying Russia. Here's the thing. They said, we're going to declare economic war on Russia and we're going to destroy Russia's economy. Then Russia says, well, I ain't selling you no gas. They're using gas as a weapon. You're using any and everything as a weapon. And so here's what I would say. Okay, it's a war, right? It's according to you declared war on someone. And now you're going to say, well, let's talk about which things they can use as a weapon. We're trying to destroy them, but I don't expect them to try to destroy us. We've said we're going to take their country apart. We said that we're going to wipe their leader out, but I can't understand why they would do that to us. It's absurd. It is the rules-based order running into reality. Under the rules-based order, Russia can't. Russia has to know their place. As they're laying on the ground and we're kicking them and stomping them and beating them, they have to say, yes, sir, yes, sir. And then we reach down and you say, excuse me, while you're bloody and I'm beating you down there. Yeah, can you lend me a 5 spot? And they're supposed to say, hold on. They look through their wallet. All I've got's a 20. And then you say, oh, thanks, I'll take it. And you take the 20, you fold it up, you put it in your pocket, and then you start stomping them again. They're supposed to pay you for the right to abuse them. So I guess from the perspective of the EU and NATO, of the EU, the Russians are supposed to pay them in fuel for the right to host an economic war against them. You're doing an economic war against them, and I'm supposed to pay you in fuel to do that. I don't think so. And I do also believe that in the long term, I might have said this in other ways, if you're Russia, every war ends. This is going to end eventually. But let's just say this ends. If Europe comes back to you and they say, we want fuel and let's try to do something with the sanctions, which there'll be, I don't know what even is going to be left of Europe. We'll find out. Whatever's left of Europe, if there's some humans wandering around that hasn't, eaten each other, if they're, wandering aimlessly in the forest, like a friggin', a zombie movie or something. If there's anybody left, I imagine they may go to Russia and say, can we do something with this gas again? And Russia may just say, look, we're selling all we can to the East. We don't have really much. Those days are gone. There was a time when you could get cheap energy from us. You had a nice thing going. You were selling all kinds of stuff. Your industry was rolling. Yeah, those days are gone. We've decided the prices are through the roof anyway, so we don't really have to sell as much. So we're good. Carry on. That's what's coming. But that's the rules-based international order. And under the rules-based international order, even then, Russia should sell it to them at the finest of prices. We've got a contract, Russia. Well, wait a minute. You stole like $100 billion or something from Russia. Stole, literally said, I'm taking your money and I'm not giving it to it. $1.4 billion worth of Venezuela's gold is in London. And London asked, Venezuela went to court in England, asked for the gold, and they had the nerves to say, we don't recognize you. We recognize Juan Guaido as the president. So the idea that someone should accept the word of the EU, accept NATO, that somebody should go play along with them, that they can take your stuff, they can sanction you to the hilt, they can keep your gold, they can keep your investments, and then say, oh, by the way, you got to sell me energy. Why? Because if you didn't, it would be very painful. Yeah, that's exactly why I wouldn't do it. And that's why I said, when the time comes, and I suspect it will, that Europe wants to reconnect with Russia, I don't think Russia's going to be so happy to reconnect with Europe. I mean, and it's Europe said they hate their guts. Why would Russia do anything other than get the hell out of Dodge? At any rate, well, that was a brief one. Thanks a lot, everybody. I just wanted to do a short video here on a Sunday night and chat about the infamous rules-based order, and that's all it is. It is the U.S. saying we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, whenever we want. And the term rules-based is a public relations term that it's just there. It's, as I said, like painting a green leaf on everything. And then people look at that and they assume that it is saving something or other in the environment. And you just use the word rules-based, and it implies that there are rules and that your order is based on that. And by the way, the order is simple. The order is a hierarchy, and we're at the top and everybody else starts at the bottom. That's the order. But supposedly that order is based on rules, but it's not. You know what it reminds me of what during the Bush administration, perfect example. They did this friendly skies initiative, right? And it was like cutting all these environmental rules to make it easier for factories to, belch all kinds of unthinkable chemicals into the atmosphere. And they called it the Friendly Skies Initiative, right? So it wasn't a Friendly Skies Initiative. It was actually the opposite. That's what the rules-based order is. It's the opposite. They'll do that a lot. A lot of times Congress will do that. They'll name something the opposites of the Helping Children Eat initiative. What is that? We're taking money from children's school lunches, and we're going to call it the Helping Children Eat initiative. That's nothing rare in the United States. If you're outside of the United States, if you haven't been paying attention to Congress, you understand how language is used in duck speak or whatever it was, Orwellian backwards speaking. Right. That's what we get a lot of here. That's why I recognize rules-based international order is the Friendly Skies Initiative, the Help the Children Initiative, the whatever for minorities initiative. It's always going to, whatever group you're supposed to be helping. If Congress puts something through and they specifically say they're going to be helping them, they're screwing them. They're taking money from them. Those people are toast. They're done. And they're there. So take that way of labeling your political initiatives, right? Take that very, very uniquely U.S. Congress way of labeling initiatives, the exact opposite of what they are, then apply that to the rules-based international order. And you realize it's not rules-based. And when it comes to international, it's what other way could I call it? Unipolar is just the only word. The non-rules based, the hierarchical unipolar order. That's what it really is. It's a hierarchical unipolar order, and the unipolar hegemon, which would be the United States, which would be the country that ran everything, is the one that decides everything, and everybody else has to follow suit. And because Russia is not only going against it, as the U.S. empire says, okay, well, my entire media outlet is going to do an info war on you, and Russia's saying, go right ahead. We're still going to do what we're doing. We ain't going to concern ourselves with your info war. We're going to do it. So the rules-based people go do their info war. None of it deters Russia. Nothing deters Russia. Russia just keeps on plodding along. And they don't really, to be quite frank, they don't know what to do but scream, you're violating the rules-based international order. And Russia's like, yeah, screw you, go to hell. We're going to keep going. And the world is looking. And the world is saying, whoa, so it looks like there is a new sheriff in town. That's what the world's looking like. Yeah, the Russians pulled out a can of whoop ass in Europe, and the U.S. ain't done nothing. And, the U.S. and NATO is not going to go toe-to-toe war with Russia. So they're going to flop. Their regime change operation here is going to flop. Simple as that. And their rules-based order, think about this. That rules-based international order is hard and fast, right? It is hard and fast. It is quite simple. This is it. The United States calls all the shots, and everybody does what they're told, or else. It's hard and fast. There's no place for a bend. There's no place for anyone to, screw around with it. It has to be the U.S. is in charge. That's the way it is. Nobody asks any questions. Shut up. Do what you're told, right? When Russia comes along and says, we're not going to do it, and not only that, we're going to kick your ass right out of Ukraine. And I don't care how many HIMARS you send, it ain't going to do any good. We're going to kick you out of Ukraine. And they say, you ain't getting out fast enough. We're going to partially mobilize, and we're going to finish this thing off once and for all. That is a direct challenge to the U.S. as the world hegemon. It is a military challenge. And then Russia's people, Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister, comes out and says, we are at war with NATO. This is bullshit. This is not, we are not at war with Ukraine. We are at war with NATO. He's now saying, again, he's kind of laying down a gauntlet. And he's saying to the other countries of the world, he's saying to Africa, he's saying to the Middle East, he's saying to Latin America, he's saying, we ain't scared of these people. We're not going to pretend anymore that this is some kind of a proxy war. We are at war with these people. And we're going to show you what happens when we go to war with them, which means, see, that's very significant words there. Because the fact is, it's kind of like calling out who's the alpha here, right? It's like you're trying to, basically, here's what he said. You're trying to hide behind these people over here. You're trying to pretend like you ain't in the fight, okay? That's bullshit. It's over. You're trying to hide behind these people. No more hiding behind him. I'm in a fight. You're in a fight. I recognize that you're just using them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to knock their asses silly and see what you do. That's basically what Shoigu said to me. I mean, to me, he didn't say it to me, but that's what it seems like to me. It seems like he's calling it out when he says, we're not fighting Ukraine. We're fighting NATO. We're fighting the nations of the West. He's basically saying, we understand we're at war with you and that you're playing games. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to act. We haven't been acting like we're at war with you. We're going to act like we're at war with you. That's what this is about. This is what taking this to another level. I think you're going to see some heavy engagement from Russia's aerospace military forces. I think you're going to see heavy engagement from them. And it's going to be a different ball game. I think they'll knock out all the civilian infrastructure, bridges, things like that, trains, all that kind of stuff. They're going to really knock it down. It'll just be a different war. So I think that within the next month, within the next couple of weeks, because what's going to happen is, I think, when this referendum thing is done, it's going to be okay. The deal is done, effective tomorrow, and of course, Ukraine's going to attack, or they'll shoot artillery the next day. They've got to find out what's going on, and then we will see what happens with Russia. But again, what Russia's saying right out is, we are at war. Basically, the bottom line, when Blinken and these people say they're challenging the rules-based international order, what they're saying is they're challenging our right to run the entire world. And the Russians are saying, yes, we are. So that's where we are, if you think about it. The Blinken's team is saying they're challenging our right to run the world, and Russians are saying, yes, we are challenging their right to run. But that's challenge accepted. That's what we're doing. We're challenging your right to run the world. And so that's what's on the line. But right now, if you look at it, to me, the deck is stacked overwhelmingly on behalf of the Russians here, because they have it's on their border. Their military was built to fight on their border. So I think the Russians now are about to bring out some heavy military gear, some heavy military action. And I think it's going to get, there's going to be some punishing blows dealt to the Ukrainians. And at the same time, the collapse of the European economy is going to put pressure. So they'll have The Europeans leaders, listen to this. They're going to have pressure from the neocons in Washington saying, hold the line, whatever you do, don't give in to your people who are saying we want gas and energy. They're going to have pressure on the battlefield from Russia, who's going to be picking up the pace and probably striking pretty hard at Europe at Ukrainian positions. And keep in mind, Ukraine is running into here a complete and total economic collapse. So it will be completely during an unthinkable economic crisis in Europe and the US. They will still have to completely economically support Ukraine because it won't have any way to make money or whatever. So Ukraine's going to be in an economic crisis. Europe's going to be in an economic crisis, an existential crisis, because people, if they don't have electricity and things of that nature, that's real bad. And now then they're going to be in a political and social crisis because people are going to take to the streets. It's going to be a mess. Here, what do you have? If the Republicans win, then which it looks most likely, unless the Democrats, who knows what, but I think the Republicans win, you're going to have a political crisis here because the Republicans are going to be saying we got to impeach Biden. It's his turn. Everybody, whoever's in power gets impeached now. So they'll impeach Biden. Maybe they'll do some investigations into Hunter, only from the perspective of China, not anything that we would really be concerned in. It's just going to be part of the anti-China moves. So that's all the Russians. I look for them to do more anti-China stuff, and they'll call it Hunter Biden. But bottom line is there'll be pressure on the Biden administration from Congress. The Republicans are going to be doing investigations. They're going to be asking Fauci for emails. They're going to be asking the CDC for emails. Guess what? They're going after Facebook and Twitter. I don't know how much, but the Republicans are going to ask for some information from Facebook and Twitter. I suspect they'll ask for some information from the FBI for like January 6th, but I don't know how far they'll go with that. Maybe January 6th they'll do, maybe they'll tell us who the hell Ray Epps is, for God's sake. But at any rate, thanks a lot, everybody. Oh, yeah, that's right. We got super chats, and I always got to respect my super chats, even when I'm tired on a Sunday night. Okay, Dolan Dockett wants to know if you are a hydroplane pilot. Hovercraft. I was a hovercraft pilot. Look up a Slingsby Aviation, SLINGSBY. Slingsby Aviation, SAH 2200. That's what it was. A Slingsby Aviation, SAH 2200. You know what? Let me find it. I will show you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you SILNGSBE Aviation. SAH 2200. I'm going to find it. All righty, here we go. Oh, man. Yeah, this is it. All right, this is not a very good picture of it, but I'm going to show you a picture. This is pretty much exactly, this is a crappy picture, but this is pretty much exactly, if I can figure out how to share. I was a hovercraft pilot, and this is pretty much exactly what the hovercraft looked like that I piloted. That's it. SAH 2200, Slingsby Aviation. That was it. And you can see they're fully amphibious. They go up across the beach, all that kind of stuff. Exactly like that. Same color, same everything. That was it. All right. So, yes, I was not a hydroplane pilot. I was a hovercraft pilot. All right. Let's see. And mechanic, I might add. Sparky, good old Sparky says, Jonathan gave Department of Defense instead of Department of War as an example. Great example. Absolutely. You are correct. Let's see. Sparky says, great work, Garland. Thanks a lot, Sparky. What else do we have? Okay. Salty Pretzel says, Garland, the regulars in your live stream chats are always such nice people. Same as when you did Fault Lines. I think it's a reflection of your very good character and kind personality. Well, thank you very much. I try not to be an asshole, but hopefully I'm not one. I'm sure everybody can be occasionally. Love the channel. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was kind of tired tonight, but I felt like I really needed to get out here and say something to everybody. It's been a great weekend, but I've been busy, had a lot of stuff to do. Let's see, Sparky. Any more super chats from my dear friend? Okay, that was the hydroplane pilot. And that, Visual says, can you do a video on Russia is using modern stealth Su-57 aircraft in Ukraine? The truth is, I don't know much about it. Maybe I can try to find someone out to find more about it. I don't know much about the Su-57s. I don't know a lot about Russian aircraft, to tell you the truth. I know some about U.S. aircraft. but I don't know, not as much as I should, but it's not much about Russian aircraft at all. Let me see. And Christine Miller says, this is off topic. Okay, let's give it a shot, Christine Miller. But I'm curious if you have any thoughts on Giorgio Meloni winning in Italy today. Let me start by saying, from what I've heard, I don't know. I know she's tight with Hungary's Orban. I know she's saying that she's going to continue, quote, standing with Ukraine. But I feel like that if there are people, the first, see, who's going to start falling off the wagon first? Orban ain't been on the wagon. So I feel like there's starting to be some people in her, like her, that's going to say, look, we got to make some moves. I feel like she's going to be quicker to, try to be pragmatic than the traditional green liberals running around in New York. I'm certainly thrilled that she doesn't support the green pass or vaccine mandates, but she's very conservative. Her views on sanctions don't necessarily align with her party. Any thoughts? Right, exactly. And she could be. Let's face it. She could. I mean, let's be honest. Europe. It's not unusual for the U.S. empire to overthrow governments. They overthrew the U.S. empire, interfered with Greece. They were involved in coups in Greece. They were involved in an attempted coup against Charles de Gaulle. They overthrew the government of Australia in 1975 and replaced him. You know what I'm saying? So recently, when what's his name was running, when Corbyn was running, Pompeo basically said, "Oh, if we thought Corbyn was going to win, we'd have to act. We're not going to wait." In other words, they interfered with the British election. And then, if you remember, this whole big thing of calling him an anti-Semite, which was absurd and preposterous, but that was the plan that was used to stop him. And the same people went after Bernie Sanders. The same people went after him, went after Bernie Sanders. It was part of the Five Eyes. It was part of the machine that says, "No, I'm sorry, we do not have any." Hope of democracy in these countries. And if we think somebody may win that we don't approve of, then we'll step in and stop it. That's all that was about. So I think maybe, perhaps Giorgia Meloni could have said, I know the truth. And I can't come out and say, I don't want to do this. Either they'll kill me or they'll, throw me off a building. They'll, accuse me of corruption and I'll be in jail. She knows the game. And so I think it may be that she knows I'll never get in office alive if I say these. She may have been told, look, if you say that you're going to end these Russia sanctions before you get into office, you'll never get in office. You'd be better off to get in office and start trying to move in that direction. And I suspect that's what we're going to see. Visual says, regardless, if I love your commentary, please, for the sake of this super chat of yours, just basic coverage of the Su-57 in Ukraine, your view interesting. Okay, I'll have to look it up because I don't know much about that. So I'll look it up and see what I can find. Red Chili Peppers did the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. And I think, that's it. That is it, everyone. So thank you very much. If you look in the, of course, scrolling across the screen, and at the bottom and in the show notes for Twitter, you'll find I'm I've got a Patreon page, patreon.com/Garland Nixon. Anything you $3, $5, $20 a month, whatever you can afford, the more the better it helps. You can do buymeacoffee.com/Garland NH. I don't know why the hell they put an H in there, but it's there, and I would certainly appreciate any help to keep the channel going. Cash App is $Man DC Radio Man, $DC Radio Man. And PayPal at Garland Nixon. PayPal is garlandin@gmail.com. So I'm available there. I want to thank everybody. Most importantly, I see 514 people. So what I'd like to be sure is we get a minimum of 514 likes. Everybody, please, it is critical. Smash the like button before you go. You can follow me on Twitter at Garland Nixon. You can follow me. I think I only got 6 more days of being in Facebook jail. So who knows how long it'll be before I'm thrown back in Facebook jail. I got like 6 more days in Facebook jail. So it's Garland Nixon on Facebook. Make sure you go to Rockfin, please, because they could toss me out on any given day on YouTube. Make sure you go to Rockfin, ROKFIN, rockfin.com/Garland Nixon. Thing about Rockfin, once again, it is free to become a member. If you want to be a subscriber, it's $9.99 a month. I really appreciate anybody can become a subscriber. That is a huge help to me and helps to build that channel for the day when they do the unthinkable here at YouTube. And as far as Rockfin, the $9.99 subscribership allows you to see the premium stuff, the premium videos on any channel whatsoever. So if you do $9.99 a month, I do one premium show a week. My premium show each week is 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. It's me and Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter gives me an update. That's the one premium show that I do. He does a, Ukraine war and all that stuff update Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. That will give you the opportunity to do that. And that's really a big help. And so that's the only thing that the $9.99 a month, as far as my premium channel for right now. I may do some other premium stuff in the future, probably will. But right now, I only have one premium show a week, Scott Ritter. That's 9 a.m. It's a great one, though. That alone's worth the $9.99 a month. But I appreciate it. That's 4 shows. But at any rate, you get the picture. Thank you. Whatever you can do to help to keep the channel going is appreciated. All the stuff is scrolling by. Make sure you become a Rockfin member. I am out.